We're rolling.
Okay, and we got two cameras. One
That's
for
right,
you.
very good. Wonderful.
Take one and only.
So I wanted to jump off of our experience today and the tour. This was actually my first time here. It sounds like you both have been here before.
Yes.
Yes. I wanted to talk about, are we kind of in the age of the purveyor where the ingredients and where they're from and who's made them or who's grown them is just as important as what's done to them on the restaurant end?
It's interesting that that's what the common thought may be.
Is that not true?
It's an interesting comment because if you talk to any chef in any period of time, they're always going to tell you that the product is the most important thing.
Sure.
So it's interesting that today we're exemplifying or suggesting that we've come at an age when our partners, I don't like to call them our purveyors, I call them our partners because we actually work with them.
Sure.
You know, like Lee,
no
he's a partner. He'll grow something to your specifications, and that's what a partner does, is to be able to do that. So
I guess I mean from a consumer end, that there's more attention being paid from a consumer end than a chef's end. That's what
I think that that began in the early '70s with Alice Waters. Who kind of for the consumer said, you got to start thinking about where your food comes from. But it's interesting because when you think about it, so my grandparents, and you come from a different country, so you've always been, your food is where food comes from in France has always been extremely important.
Absolutely.
You guys have conversation about that at breakfast, what you're eating for dinner, and where it
And I
comes
grew up learning cooking with chefs who were just farmers market every day.
Right.
I mean,
here in America, what happened was, my grandmother, my grandmother's generation always went to the market, right? The milkman brought the milk every day. They went to the market for the bread. They went to the market for the vegetables and for the food. World War II came along and things changed. So we were only lost that connection with food for a generation and a half, right? And that was basically my generation, which was his generation as well, but he was in France. But my generation lost that connection with where our food came from.
Sure.
Because the men went to war, women went to work, and came back from the war, women stayed at work, and that was the beginning of convenience food. When I was 7 years old, there was nothing better than sitting down in front of a TV with a TV dinner stand, that was designed to put your TV dinner on.
Right.
I mean, that didn't exist in my
when I grew up
time.
in France, we didn't have TV, so
Right. You didn't have
we didn't need the stand.
So when you think about this, in reality, from the early 50s, until the early 70s was kind of that period of time where we lost connection with where our food came from, and two people really brought it back home to us. We need to pay attention to those individuals who bring us our food, and that was Alice Waters and John Lee Paladin. Were the two people.
Okay. I wanted to ask both of you, but since you haven't gotten a chance to speak yet, let's talk about the dining scene. I wonder if is the trend that kind of fine dining is losing its luster with the American public as all this fast casual explosion is going on. Where do you see the trend in the dining scene right now in this country?
I think, in France, fine dining was not for the youth either, for the young generation. Fine dining was for when you are grown up, when you have done it all, and now you want to nourish yourself with something, maybe with, and fine dining, I'm not saying fine dining as pompous fine dining, but elevated fine cuisine. And I believe that today, of course, we have trained, and I say we because it's me and thousands of other chefs, I've trained a lot of young talent who want to take maybe a step down, but yet has the talent to be able to deliver something delicious, something wonderful, and but want to take a step down in the expectation, in the price, in the offering, in the and it has also. I mean, it's true. And today, the entertainment. Dining is entertaining. It has always been entertaining, but I think today it has many forms of entertainment. And I think fine dining is one of them now, versus before there were only one form of sort of dining well was going to fine dining often, or even, in France, you go to a bistro, you go to there's many levels of type of restaurant. It's nothing new, the different level of restaurants. And I remember a bistro in Lyon, we were going to the same farmers market as Paul Bocuse and doing the same sort of daily spontaneous food as Paul Bocuse, but in a very inexpensive way, in a very simple way, where there was white wine or red wine on the table, no choice, which one you want. It was a bouchon. What Thomas' name is cafe and his épicerie after is Bouchon in Lyon, which for $20 you had a full dinner and a glass of wine or two, and then for $200 you had to go to Paul Bocuse and have also a full dinner and a bottle of wine. But both were amazing experience in a very different way. Today in America, I think what has elevated itself is the casual dining, which before was, to the French, it was too much of fast food, too much of bad food, versus today is great food in the casual dining area, and it's everywhere, all over the country, and every cuisine and every culture. So I think that's fine dining will never die, because I don't think luxury itself will die, but definitely you need both. You need both, and you don't need both in the same pace of appreciation. You know what I mean? I understand. I mean, if you can afford, you can go to French Laundry. If I was living in Napa Valley, I could afford it. Maybe I'll go to French Laundry once a week. But most of the people, they say, well, if we go once a month, that's pretty good already. And if we go 3 times a year, 4 times a year. So we have a lot of many regular customers, many young couple, and same at Per Se and all that, where so many young people feel so happy to come to a fine dining restaurant.
It's replacing the theater in a way, like that's your entertainment.
Beyond that is the service, is
it's just interesting when because this is like in my career, which spans a little bit over 40 years, fine dining has died 3 times. It's just this, and I'm not sure why people want to talk about the death of fine dining. It's like, why is that interesting for people? It holds a place for everybody. And it's interesting because, I got a little bit fed up with this, constantly, well, fine dining's dead, fine dining's dead. That I did per se, I did an experiment where I did a dinner for, if you were under 30, you can come to per se, for a specific price. And the first dinner we did, we had over 900 reservations. So we've done it about 8 times since then, never ever having to announce it again, because there's that long list of people who want to come.
Ready to come.
So this idea that the young people are interested in fine dining is not something that has ever been fleshed out. It's only an idea perpetuated by somebody who thinks that maybe fine dining is pretentious, but it's not.
And what's interesting also,
it's a service. And it's
I would say that our core diner in the fine dining are adult, but that's the core. After that, there's a lot of other type of generations and where they are from and all that. So of course the core is also, like, for example, Thomas' restaurant in California. The core is California. The core is maybe grown up, but the parents who are in their early 40s and they have kids who are 8, 10 years old. They take so much pride at teaching them about fine dining.
And they come.
And they come. And then it's the kid who want to go back. Because they had a trip to the kitchen, they met the chef, they had a talk, and they felt like everybody was paying attention to them, the kids.
Experience was delivered, indeed, yes.
When you go to a casual restaurant, they don't care about the kid.
We also did first timers dinner at the French Laundry, per se, where you can bring your child for their first time, and you see, as Danielle points out, I mean, these kids are just over the moon at being able to be in that environment with their parents and everybody taking care of them in this way. And I think that's what fine dining is about, that extra care, that extra level of service, that extra level of experience, of quality of food. I mean, the food, you have to understand, is the food in fine dining restaurants is much rarer than food in casual dining restaurants. So it's more expensive because of the quality of the food itself.
is the
And the talent behind
investment.
it is much more.
Right,
rare.
everything is just elevated. So
It's the investment we put in, and I mean, it's just like a fine car, a fine piece of clothes or
Always be a
something.
market for it.
Yeah, and it's something you keep for life.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
No, I do.
And I think in the fine dining, I think we experience also there's the wine aspect, the pleasure of being able to share with the customer something maybe, you know, unusual or inaccessible, or we really think a lot about.
or something as simple as just getting dressed up.
Right.
I feel like getting dressed. I feel like putting a new suit on tonight. My wife feels like putting a nice dress on.
Make somebody feel special.
You're not going to go to a casual restaurant dressed up.
Yes, you're not going to go for a special occasion.
You're going to feel awkward in that. So I
gotcha.
mean, there's, fine dining has continuously evolved, and as all dining has continuously evolved.
But you know,
But as Danielle pointed out, fine dining, there's a place for it. There's a place for everything. Nothing ever has to die.
So everything's evolving.
And what's amazing is that people have sometimes a preconception. Oh, it's going to be pretentious. It's going to be this. We're not going to feel comfortable. And when they come to a restaurant and they start their experience in the evening, they feel like, wow, this is cool. This is everybody's relaxed. Everybody's happy.
Right, yeah.
Everybody is so nice. Everybody. But you know, one thing I do, for example, for the last 20 years is that we have made bibs for babies. And it say, I'd rather eat that Danielle on it. And we give that to every couple who are having a baby or they just had a baby, you know, in the conversation we hear.
That's great.
And we give them that. And they send us picture of their kid and they're so proud of the kid wearing the baby. And so to me, it's the investment to the next generation of customer.
Sure. Can I ask one more question? I know they're
please
waiting
do.
too.
Yeah, we got off on fine dining. I'm
That's
sorry.
right. That's
But
okay. Well, I asked you the question. I want to talk about labor. I mean, there's restaurants, 80-90% of restaurants around the country operating understaffed. Cleveland is feeling it just like every other market in the country. Is there a way to combat that? I mean, I know you're working with the next generation of chefs, but it's whether it's fine dining or fast casual or a mom and pop place, everybody is hurting when it comes to the next generation of good health. Is there how do you fight that?
Yeah, but I think that's in general. I think every profession, whether it's healthcare, whether it's automotive mechanics, whether it's hotels, certainly all of hospitality. I think that with the need for staffing all over America. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we have an unemployment rate of like 2%.
Yeah.
Basically almost
fighting
zero.
for those same people.
So everybody's employed. So what do you have to do? So I think everybody is trying to staff their professions the same way we're staffing our professions as well. And the only thing we can do is give them an environment and benefits that would attract the best.
It's very important. I think we feel very responsible and compelled to provide the best support to them, and then also the environment of working, the environment of protecting them, and helping them in their life grow.
It's a career, it's a career choice.
Yeah,
for many of them.
And for them, it's an investment because maybe they could make more money in a place where they could shovel a little bit more food, but at least it's an investment to them as well, to us. We pay very well, but there's always somewhere where we could pay better.
The next shiny thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot. See you in California and New York.
I come to California every
and we'll be back in Cleveland.
Oh my gosh, you won't be back. That's great.